this year I've definitely seen an improvement, and again, beginning of January, usually it drops right off, but I got really great results all of January, and yeah, I was kind of like, oh, it's like this is happening. Because I was kind of coasting along with the same results as the other people were getting for me, but then I've kind of seen, oh, well, my return on investment is looking really good. I can see the process now, and it's just like making, those micro changes rather than going, oh, well, this is not working, change, go with someone else or change completely. So I have, especially, November, December is my busiest time of the year. And, I saw really great results. But again, this is what I talk to Daryl about all the time in the community. It's like the confidence to really push that further. And there's times where I see the cost of purchase kind of jumps up and I'm like, oh, shit, I pull back with the ad. But then looking at the actual numbers, in the part of, the
compass
documents you guys supplied so we can measure all that stuff, it's like actually it's still looking really good, and just following that process and looking at the numbers and having that confidence to really follow through. So yeah, that's definitely seen improvement over the last probably 5-6 weeks. Yeah, I have always worked with agencies for all my marketing. So I took over the business in 2018. I, started with a business partner, and I bought her out in 2018. And she used to do the marketing and distribution side of things. I'm more the creative and the product development and things like that. So when I took on the business, I was having to take all of that on board. So I outsourced a lot of that stuff. And I think I was a little bit scared to do any of that stuff for myself, because I thought, well, I'm not the expert, and therefore it was just easier to kind of outsource and all of that kind of stuff. But over the last couple of years, it's just seems to be getting harder and harder, and I was relying on them telling me what was right and what was wrong, and what was working and what wasn't working, and just having to take their word for it. So it started making me very nervous that advertising spend was going up, but the sales weren't kind of going up with that. So I kind of it was a needs must, and I had to cut corners. I was using an agency to do content creation and as well as marketing and strategy. So yeah, it was I kind of downscaled a little bit to another kind of just digital marketing agency. So I was doing the strategy and the content. I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I can kind of do that. But even then, it was just watching these ad spends, cost of purchase going up and up, but things not being done fast enough to, the reactions to things not working. So I felt like I was throwing all this money at something that just wasn't getting me results anymore. So it was when they started growing and getting bigger, and I was then moved on to account managers and other people, and the account managers would change every couple of months because they had high turnover. That's when I was feeling like my relationship as being part of, or that, because their thing was, we're part of your business, we act as if they have an interest in the business, and that, but the relationship changed as they got bigger, and I'm not sure they realized that, but I just felt like I was just a number, and wasn't kind of a big business on their books. So the attention to detail and everything just started to drop as they got bigger. Bottom line, it had an impact on my revenue. So things had to change. I could no longer afford to pay them basically for what they were doing, and they were outsourcing a lot of their content creation and things like that, and the quality of that just dropped because it was being done elsewhere. They were out, outsourcing, and it was just, it didn't feel like they really understood my business anymore, the account managers I was working with. So while in the beginning I was working one-on-one with people, they really understood my business and knew my vision, but as they grew, that was lost. And that had a big impact, I feel, on my bottom line, essentially. So yeah, so the impact of that was I was no longer able to pay myself, but I was paying them a lot of money. So yeah, it's not really the best outcome. I was kind of convinced, oh yeah, there's people that can help you, outsource what you can't do and all that kind of stuff. But the problem was that as I was outsourcing the stuff that I actually didn't completely understand, and therefore I didn't have full control over my business, or that's how I felt. So doing the program has kind of brought that back. And I was kind of feeling in the beginning that it was a bit of a failure to do that, because when you grow, you outsource, right? And you delegate and you do all that. And as I was bringing everything back in, I was kind of feeling like it was a bit of a failure in my business. But through doing the course, I realized that no, actually that's, I'm building up that strength, my personal skills and my personal strength and my mindset that has given me a lot more. So I don't see it as a failure anymore. I see it as a win, really, that I understand my business a lot more. And it was a confidence thing with me. I just felt like I didn't know enough to do it myself. And that's a mindset thing, right, with me within my business. So just reliant too heavily on other people to really know that. So by doing For Good Profits, it was drilling down on the niche and all that content creation and really understanding who I'm talking to, and that doing that gave me the confidence to really build on my abilities and what I could actually, that I do know a lot about my business and my target audience. So it was, that was kind of the big flip for me when I switched to you guys. I would try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that, and something might stick. And that's kind of what I felt like the agency were doing at the end. And yeah, so that's kind of gone now. I kind of like, well, I know what my process is. I know what I want my end result to be, and really refining that to be a really strong message. And the thing I found hard in the beginning was starting to deviate from that slightly, but then, that's the thing I guess you guys are good at, is it's like, no, focus on this, and until this is working and this is really cranking, then you move on to, trying it with other products, or bringing in, slightly different, flows, or pipes, as you call them. So yeah, it's learning how to not be scared by that, to actually believe in what that core message is, and having that confidence in that core message and how you're talking to your audience. It's just given me a whole new confidence to believe that I actually can do it, whereas before I was like, oh well, no, I'll let them do it and they will tell me whether it's working or not, and the ROAS is this, so therefore it must be working. But not seeing that on the revenue side, now I can really see exactly where things are letting me down, and where I don't need to change the whole thing. It's just those real little subtle things. So that's definitely a lot easier. Well, I think the biggest thing for me, and a lot of things I see in people marketing their businesses, I get emails daily with people trying to sell me their digital marketing. And it's always like, your business will be our business, and we will work towards making you your first million and doing this and doing that, and it will be amazing, and we'll just expand. And it sounds fantastic, right? But the reality of it is, they're not in my business. They're not going to be making those you know, they're not going to be looking at the ad account every single day, you know, really focusing and watching those numbers. So they can't be, as much as I think they would like to think they are part of your business, they actually can't be part of your business, because it takes a lot of time, and they can't do that for all their clients. You know, they can probably do that for their own business, but it's unrealistic to think that they can be across everything and know, you know, I mean, I find that Campaign Compass really effective in that the ad spend and, you know, the cost of fulfillment and all that all plugged in, and I can see it at a glance how it's all going. So even though the ROAS might look great, the return on investment might be slightly out, or the ad spend might, you know, like things don't quite add up, but it's easier. Yeah, it's, as a business owner, it is a lot. You know, no one can be you, really, at the end of the day. I don't know if you remember our first call, Andre, but I was like, oh my God, this scares the shit out of me. I either have to do this or I might be losing my business. Like, that's how I felt. So it was a big investment for me, and it was a scary investment, but I think I kind of needed that as well, because it made me work really hard. That investment for me personally, for my business, made me work hard in the course to actually get to the point where I was starting to see results. Yeah, so it was scary, but it's definitely been worth it. You know, I had a kind of a product launch before Christmas that really cemented that Klaviyo can do a lot. Like my revenue from Klaviyo went from like 20% of my overall revenue to up to almost 50% by doing that, like really honing in on those emails and messaging. So, and that was just for a product launch. So yeah, that's kind of my aim, is to really get that that really cranking. So not having to spend extra on advertising, doing, you know, using that once now I've got them coming into that flow, really, you know, then doing the unpaid advertising side of it, and just to be getting those results straight away was like, oh, actually, this is not so bad after all. And I did it really fast, and so I probably cut a few corners in doing that, because I just really wanted to do it before like the November busy period, because I had a process with this product launch and Black Friday and all of that. So, you know, I kind of gave myself a deadline. So being able to get those results from fast tracking through, like I think I jumped, there's a Klaviyo module that I jumped because I had the basics set up. So I jumped straight through to Facebook ads. So it's kind of allowed me to, now that was working and I was getting those results, to go back and refine all of that even more. And I think that's why, you know, January's been so good, because I'm using now all those different aspects, the Facebook advertising and the Klaviyo, and you know, social, the content I'm creating really targeted towards, and it's not all sales, it's like sharing recipes and the fun stuff with my audience, that gets them to, you know, more engaged with my brand, to want to then push them through to the sales. So it's, yeah, so in terms of when I was like, oh, this is really working, was probably beginning of January. And because I, you know, switched off over Christmas, personally, not the ads, I just left things going, and then came back early January and did a few tweaks, and then things really started to kick off, just because my messaging was really clear to my audience about a particular thing at that time of year. I could see it immediately how well it was working. And it was like, oh, actually, this is giving me even more confidence to then push that even further, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was, I don't know how I actually felt at the time, which going back to your original question, but it was kind of like I was only doing a couple of hours a week because I was still essentially on holiday, right? Got kids home from school. So it was like, actually, now I know I've got all the processes in place and it is working. It's not so hard after all. So it was more I don't know, whether relief was the feeling. Yeah. I keep coming back to the word confidence. Yeah, so I think that would probably be it, knowing that what I was doing was actually, and I was only doing, because I wasn't 100% full-time doing it, and so now I'm kind of back at work. My kids go back to school tomorrow. Now I'm kind of back at it full-time. I've kind of like, okay, well, how much further can I take that now that I've got my full attention on it, if that's what I was able to do by just setting up the process before I went on holiday. Yeah, I think I would have been very disappointed in myself if I didn't commit at the time, or even now. I think I've still got a lot to learn, and going back, and there's new content in there. I can go back and do, and even once I'm clear on this current pipe, I've got like a target for sales that I want to be doing for that, and then kind of going back and doing the process all over again for my other product ranges. So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, it's like I want to kind of do that now, but I'm like, nope, trust the process, really get this refined first, and then start doing other things on top. So yeah, I do have a tendency to start a lot of things and not finish them because yeah, I don't know whether that's a creative thing. I get a bit bored or whatnot, but yeah, it's just it's been a good lesson in just following the process and yeah, just doing the mahi.